Well, I guess he gets really mad when he gets mad.
Eat nightmares!
Do you have any idea what I'm like?
When I'm mad!
When it comes to animated villains, Bill Cipher might just be the best of them all. Why? Well, for starters, villains are one of the best parts of any story. Not just because they do bad things, but because they bring out the best in heroes. And a well-written villain forces the protagonist to grow, challenges their beliefs, and makes the story unforgettable. Some villains are pure evil, existing only to create chaos and destruction. Others are more complicated, with reasons that, while twisted, make some kind of sense. They might believe they're the hero of their own story, or they might just want revenge, power, or something deeper. But some of the best villains are the ones who serve as a direct contrast to the hero. These are the dark reflections, antagonists who represent everything the hero could become if they lost their way. Batman fights for justice and control, while the Joker thrives on lawlessness and destruction. Spider-Man learns that power comes with responsibility, while the Green Goblin uses his power for selfish gain. These villains aren't just obstacles, they're personal challenges, forcing the hero to prove what they stand for. And that brings me to a show I recently rewatched, Gravity Falls, where Bill Cipher takes the idea of a dark reflection villain to another level. Now, if you don't know, Gravity Falls follows twins Dipper and Mabel Pines as they spend the summer with their great uncle in a town filled with strange and paranormal mysteries. It all starts when Dipper finds a cryptic journal documenting the town's weirdness. But as their adventures unfold, they uncover something far more dangerous than just local legends. Bill Cipher, a reality warping nightmare that threatens not just Gravity Falls, but the entire world. Bill wasn't just dropped into the story out of nowhere. The show built him up from the very beginning. Symbols of his presence were hidden in the background, cryptic messages teased his arrival, and hints of something bigger lurked in every corner. Fans who paid attention noticed that Gravity Falls was playing the long game, setting up a villain who wasn't just another monster of the week, but the ultimate threat. By the time Bill finally appeared, it wasn't just a surprise. It felt like a revelation. But his impact goes beyond just a strong build-up. Bill is unpredictable, hilarious, and disturbingly casual about the horrors he causes. He plays by his own rules, cracking jokes one moment and malforming reality the next. His personality makes him fun to watch, but it also makes him more terrifying, because underneath all that charm, he's unstoppable. And for most of the story, he's always a step ahead. That's what makes him such an unforgettable villain. But there's something even deeper that makes him work so well, something that ties him directly to the hero's struggles, and that is Bill versus Ego, the Stan twins connection. Bill Cipher may seem unstoppable, but he has one major flaw: his ego. He isn't just a trickster who manipulates people. He makes sure everyone knows he's the smartest person in the room. He constantly taunts others, brags about his intelligence, and assumes no one can outthink him. This arrogance is his greatest weakness, and ironically, it mirrors the same flaw that caused the biggest rift between two of the most important characters in Gravity Falls, the Stan twins. Stanford and Stanley Pines had everything they needed to stop Bill before he even became a threat. As kids, they were inseparable, balancing each other's strengths and weaknesses. Stanford, the genius, loved books and science, while Stanley, the street-smart one, knew how to read people and navigate the world. Together, they planned to travel and explore mysteries side by side. But when an opportunity came for Stanford to attend an elite school, everything fell apart. Stanley, afraid of being left behind, accidentally sabotaged his brother's science project. Instead of talking it out, their family turned against Stanley, kicking him out until he could make something of himself. Stanford, now alone, pursued his education, eventually dedicating his life to studying the paranormal. He ended up in Gravity Falls, where he encountered Bill Cipher, not as an enemy, but as a so-called guide. Bill didn't have to work hard to manipulate Ford. All he had to do was feed his ego. He flattered Ford, telling him he was special, that he had a mind unlike anyone else's. Ford, eager to uncover the secrets of the universe, trusted Bill, and built the portal he thought would change the world. Instead, he nearly unleashed a nightmare. On the other side of the story, Stanley spent years trying to prove himself, not through knowledge, but through hustling. He became a con artist, using his wits to scam his way through life. But deep down, he was still searching for a way to fix what had gone wrong with his brother. The real tragedy? If the two had worked together, they could have stopped Bill before he ever became a threat. Stanley's ability to spot deception would have exposed Bill as a fraud, and Ford's intelligence could have been used to stop him instead of empowering him. But their egos kept them apart, and that separation set the stage for everything that happened in Gravity Falls. The Stan twins' story is a warning. Their pride led led to Bill's rise, just like Bill's own arrogance would later lead to his downfall. And if that wasn't enough, their struggles also serve as a mirror for another set of siblings, Dipper and Mabel. Because while Bill may have played on Ford's weaknesses, his biggest failure would come from underestimating someone else entirely. The reality, the Dipper and Mabel connection. Bill Cipher isn't just a villain who wants power. He wants to break reality itself. He comes from a dimension where rules existed, and he hated it so much that he destroyed everything, including his own family, just to escape. Now, he wants to reshape the world in his image, where nothing is off limits, and he never has to follow any rules again. This makes him the perfect contrast to Dipper and Mabel, who both struggle with reality in different ways. Dipper wants to grow up too fast. He craves control, knowledge, and respect. Mabel, on the other hand, fears change. She wants everything to stay fun, lighthearted, and the same forever. Their conflict has been building throughout the show, but Bill exploits it in the most extreme way possible, by creating a world where reality doesn't exist at all. That's what makes his trap for Mabel so dangerous. Instead of fighting her, he gives her exactly what she wants. A perfect world where she never has to grow up. No responsibilities, no hardships, just endless fun. It's so convincing that even Wendy and Suze fall into it, lured by their own deepest desires. Dipper is the only one who fights back, but even he nearly gives in when offered his biggest dream, finally being with Wendy. The turning point comes when Dipper's put on trial for mentioning reality, a banned concept in Mabel's fantasy world. He pleads with her, reminding her that no matter how hard life gets, they've always faced it together. The moment is powerful because it's not just about escaping a dream. It's about Mabel choosing to grow. Instead of hiding in a fantasy, she takes Dipper's hand and steps into the real world, proving that they're ready to move forward. And that's what truly sets them apart from Bill. He refuses to accept reality while they learn to embrace it. That's why they win. And that's how Bill lost perfectly. For all of Bill's power, he makes one fatal mistake. He underestimates Stanley Pines. Up until now, Bill has been playing mind games with people who think in a structured way. Ford was a genius, but predictable. Dipper was analytical, but cautious. Bill assumed he could read everyone, but he never counted on someone like Stanley, a wild card who thrives on unpredictability. In the final showdown, Bill thinks he's won. He's inside Stanley's mind, ready to take control. But at the last second, Stanley does the one thing Bill never saw coming. He erases his own memories. Without a mind to manipulate, Bill has nowhere to go. He's trapped, powerless, and completely helpless. And just like that, he's erased from existence. This ending ties everything together. Dipper and Mabel grow by accepting reality. Stanford and Stanley reconcile by finally working together. And Bill, the being who fought against reality itself, is erased from it. It's the perfect conclusion to a story built on the idea that running from reality is never the answer. No matter how powerful or clever you are, ignoring the truth will always lead to failure. Bill thought he was above reality, but in the end, reality won. But no matter what, Bill Cipher isn't just a great villain because of his power or chaos. He's great because he fits the story like a perfect puzzle piece. Gravity Falls is all about growing up, facing reality, and learning from mistakes. Bill, on the other hand, refuses to change. He fights reality itself and loses. That's what makes his defeat so satisfying. But what if Bill isn't truly gone? In his final moments, he didn't just scream in terror. He said something backward. Axolotl. The journal hints that this wasn't just nonsense. It was a message. The axolotl, a strange and mysterious being, supposedly has the power to bring Bill back. The book also mentions that he's not completely destroyed, just trapped. He's stuck in a prison of some kind, attending therapy, plotting his return. Fan theories have been circling ever since. Some believe he's already escaped. Others think he's waiting for the right moment. And then there's the question of Stanley's lost memories. If he ever gets them back, could that open the door for Bill to return? Gravity Falls might be over, but Bill's influence lingers. Whether we ever get a season 3 or a sequel, one thing is certain. When it comes to Bill Cipher, nothing stays buried forever. We'll meet again.